This is the first Google Assistant run smart clock made by Lenovo. It's pretty cute and tiny and blends well with other Google Home/Google Nest products. Now, over the past few weeks, I've gotten to play around with the smart clock, so I wanted to go ahead and give you my first impressions of the device, as well as answer several questions that were submitted from viewers like you to our channel. So let's dive in. Right out of the box, my first impression of this device was, wow, this thing is really tiny and oddly kind of cute. The mesh on the back of the device feels nice and very similar to the Google Home Mini. The volume buttons are easy to press and have a nice tactile feel to them, so you don't have to guess where they are. I love that Lenovo included a USB-A port on the back for you to plug a charging cable to something like your phone or your watch into it. If your wall always seems to be running out of plugs like mine does, you'll definitely appreciate that feature. The screen of the smart clock overall looks great, and because it doesn't display photos like the Nest Hub or other Lenovo smart displays, I don't think it needs an ambient color light temperature sensor, which is something I wished the Lenovo smart displays had. I like that the alarm clock also has a sensor at the top, so when you slam your hand down on the clock, it'll snooze your alarm. It's good to know that there are some night owls working for Lenovo. Now, moving on, let's talk about how you use this device. And so far in my experience, actually using this device has been simple. The touch controls are pretty intuitive. Touch and hold to get different clock faces. Swipe to the left of the clock face to go to your reminders and alarm settings. Swipe down from the top of the screen to get to your shortcuts, alarms, routines, and more. And then swipe up from the bottom of the screen to get ambient brightness, volume, do not disturb, and other settings. All right, now on to some of the things I don't like about the device. Now, just fair warning, these are going to be very minor. There are no major hangups I have about this device at all. But the first one is there's no way to actually automatically turn off the screen at night. You can tell the smart clock to turn off the screen, which is very useful, but I wish you could automate this so when the clock senses it's completely dark, it turns off the screen completely. Now, the second minor issue I've run into with this device is that the microphones on the smart clock just aren't good enough to pick up your voice if there's another Google Home device nearby. My Google Home Max constantly picks up the request over the smart clock, even though the smart clock is much closer to the side of the bed than the Google Home Max. I have to be pretty close to the clock for it to pick up my voice. This scenario, however, is only going to apply to people who have way too many Google Assistant devices already in their home like I do. All right, now on to your questions. So we posted a few weeks ago on the 6 Months Later channel that we had the Lenovo Smart Clock and we're going to do a video about it. And we wanted to hear what our subscribers, what questions they had about the device. So if you want your question answered on the next video, make sure you're 1, subscribe to the channel, and 2, make sure you select that bell icon and make sure you're receiving all notifications from our channel. That way you're never going to miss when we post about a tech product that we're about to do a video on if you want to have your question in a video like this. So let's go ahead and move to our first question, and that comes from Bradley. Bradley asks, how loud is the smart speaker? Could one play music with it that maybe parallels the sound of a Google Home Mini? Well, thanks for the question, Bradley. The smart clock speaker does get loud, though I wouldn't say it's as loud as the Google Home Mini speaker. Now, like the Google Home Mini, when you pump up the volume on the smart clock, you are going to start hearing distortion of the music and media that you're playing right around volume level 7 to 8. Now, overall, I did find that the Google Home Mini, for whatever reason, does seem to have a little bit of a fuller sound, though it's very slight, and overall, I would still say that both speakers are pretty much neck and neck when you compare their sound quality. All right, on to the next question. Daniel asks, using the Google Assistant without a screen isn't a bad experience. Is it really worth the extra money just to get the same info you'd get on, say, a Home Mini, but with a screen? Thanks for your question, Daniel. 1, yes, I do think in general the experience you get on Google Assistant smart displays is better than just having a smart speaker. So if you want to get the information that you typically get with a Google Home with a Google Smart Display, you're going to want to get a Google Assistant powered smart display versus something like the Lenovo Smart Clock. And the reason for that is that the Lenovo Smart Clock just is not made to give you all of the same information and do all of the same things that a Google Assistant smart display can do, like the Nest Hub. The Nest Hub can do things like show you pictures, it can show you videos, it can play YouTube videos, it can do recipes, it can show you music speaker group controls, etc. Those are just things that are not possible with the Lenovo Smart Clock. Now, with the Lenovo Smart Clock, you will get functionality that is visual, like it'll show you your calendar events, it'll show you reminders, it'll show you the weather, and of course, it will show you the time. So I hope that helps. All right, let's go ahead and go to our next question, and that comes from Joseph. Joseph asks, is it gimmicky? I usually see a lot of gimmicks with this sort of thing. Well, that's a fair question. I think the Lenovo Smart Clock, the question you got to ask is, does the functionality it adds to the traditional alarm clock experience, is that enough to make it a value add to the consumer? And I think the answer to that question is yes. I think there is enough of a value add to the features that the Lenovo Smart Clock has over a traditional alarm clock, where this device would not fit into the category of a gimmicky device. I mean, you've got the USB-A port on the back, you got a touch screen, you got multiple clock faces, and of course, the biggest thing, the Google Assistant integration. All of that packaged together is definitely an improvement over a traditional alarm clock experience. Hope that helps answer your question. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And the next question comes from Sonic Extra Life Fan. They ask, can it play YouTube? Unfortunately, no. This device is not meant to play YouTube videos, but if you do want a Google Assistant device that can play YouTube videos, you're going to want to look at something like a Nest Hub Max, or a Lenovo Smart Display. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next question, and that comes from Emma Voss, and they ask, is it fluid or laggy? Any personal assistant? I'd say it's pretty fluid. I've not noticed any lag with the Lenovo Smart Clock at all, actually. And that is something that we didn't notice on, I guess you could say, like the bigger brother, the Lenovo Smart Display, which is a much larger screen. And so you need a chip that can drive all the pixels in that much larger display. And that, for that device, we did notice there was a little bit of lag, but not with the Smart Clock. It's very fluid. And of course, we've already answered this. The smart assistant on it is the Google Assistant. All right, and our final question comes from Bill. Bill asks, can we consider it a Google Home Mini plus a screen, or is it much more than that? I'd actually say the Lenovo Smart Clock is, actually it's a little bit less than just having a Google Home Mini plus a screen. I mean, we already know what the Google Home Mini plus a screen product looks like, and that is the Nest Hub, which we've actually done a review of on this channel. So if anyone's interested in a product like that, you can just click on this card in the video, or I'll make sure to link it in the description below. But the Lenovo Smart Clock isn't meant to do the same things as the Google Nest Hub, as we've stated for a previous question. But what the Lenovo Smart Clock is meant to do, in my experience at least so far, it does very well. All right, well, that wraps up our question and answers on the Lenovo Smart Clock. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question for this video. This is something we plan on doing more of in the future for our first impressions videos. So if you like the concept of the Q&A segment within a first impressions video, make sure to let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more Google Assistant product videos like this one. Well, for 6 months later, I'm Josh Tedder. Thanks for watching.